why you ain't a man if you can't handle that extra pound.
Oh, no.
Hey, stay tuned. We're talking about heavy guitars and why it might be the best guitar you've ever played. Hey, it's Baxter
and Jonathan.
We're talking heavy guitars, talking fun, talking silly, talking trash, and talking a little bit of the truth along the way.
Yeah, man.
Say, click like and subscribe.
Hit the old bell.
If you enjoy this stuff, and just thanks for joining us. So, I think this was another Derek poll this morning.
Oh, I think so.
It's we were laughing, and we got all sorts of ideas. We're talking about Mick Mars and some stuff with like Metallica and Kiss. I'm like, this is more fun. Let's go.
Way more.
Let's do this because I got to say some funny stuff off the bat. Some of the best music ever in the history of rock and roll lore was created on very heavy guitars.
Oh my God, Baxter, don't say that.
Some artists
Get the tone.
actually prefer heavy guitars. I'm not saying I do. I just think it's something we need to analyze and be honest about it and maybe discuss how we've all lost our minds in this collective world of thinking that it has to be a light guitar.
I mean, Queen wrote a song about it. Fat bottom girls.
I just watched a video.
Real girls, they're guitars.
I just watched a video of girls, with these little kids watching Queen songs, and like none of them got it. And this guy was like, he was duetting that, and he was like, "Yeah, kill him, kill this one. This kid should die too. Kill that one." And I was like, I agree with this guy. I was like, Bohemian Rhapsody said, "I don't like it at all." I was like, "Yeah, just kill it. I don't know." Yeah.
So really, I would have thought kids would love Bohemian Rhapsody.
It was. I've seen other ones where they love it.
Oh yeah,
it was just
funny.
Things. Yeah, they're not like Queen. I think
Kids are fickle.
Kids are something. They also like pure sugar straws.
This is true.
God, maybe I would too if I just let my inner child be rampant. Anyway, let's dig into this a little bit. So, some artists we know too actually prefer heavy guitars. Like we can talk about the Troy Van Leeuwen syndrome from Queens and
Simone syndrome
and Chains and every other band that he's played with in the universe. But he, actually prefers a heavier instrument.
Now, why does he like it heavier?
I think he likes that he can treat it a little bit tougher. I think he thinks there's more sustain in there.
Okay.
A little more power, a little more bass.
Okay.
But that's just there's just more. I think he attacks his guitars as a vehicle and a weapon, from what I've seen sometimes.
So no thought, because I mean,
in a good way.
There's two issues here with a heavy guitar. One issue is that it's not as comfortable to wear around your neck.
We'll get into that in a minute.
We'll get there. The other one is whether or not sonically that does something to the guitar, makes it sound better. And I feel like growing up, I heard often that a heavier Les Paul was better. I felt like that was the predominant wisdom from the old timers. Buy heavy guitar, especially Les Paul. Heavier is better. And I feel like now it's sort of switched to lighter, more resonant.
Well, let's jump back to the old timers back in that day, because they were playing mostly probably 70s.
Probably.
Les Pauls, and they came in pretty heavy.
I mean, even 70 Strats. Think about how heavy most 70 Strats you grab.
Strats are all light.
Uh-huh. Unless there's 97 coats of poly and the wood had been cut for 2 hours. That made it a guitar.
Timber.
Little green still. It's like a banana. It'll ripen.
Get the leaves out.
I mean,
that is funny to think of a tree going, bam, and they're spraying it and it's fallen.
Done.
As it just fell.
Done.
No, so, 70s Les Pauls are heavy.
Yes.
Those pancake bodies, they're heavy. I have several 70s Les Pauls. I love them. They're great guitars. But they weigh a bit more. And some of the best guitars I played are from the 70s too.
Right.
I played some 70s Martins. D35s.
Pretty darn good.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I think sonically there can be something to it with a lot of artists I've talked to. We talked about Jimmy Page's number one was 9.5 panels, 9.7 or something. His first guitar, his main Les Paul.
Well, I think some people sort of assume that just because the guitar, if it's a 50s, like a burst, it's going to be light. Not necessarily true.
And sometimes they do lose a little weight over the course of their lifetime too.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Process of dehydration of that wood. But the average weight, just to assuage your fears, if you're home, you're like, my guitar is too heavy. The average weight for Les Paul is 9 to 12 pounds.
That's what Google says.
It's got to be true. No, so there's some heavy ones, and so that's a wide gambit. Now let's break into
Jesus, 12 pounds. I would, that would get crazy. I mean, bass players do it, but.
Well, that's what we want to talk to. Yeah. So bass players carry their basses all show, all night, night after night. They play that bar. They play like Dusty and Sally's bar around the corner saloon every night. And they, I hope there's a Dusty and Sally's bar somewhere.
There is somewhere.
I just like reference that. But they play everything. They don't complain. That's just what the bass weighs.
It's true.
It's, boom, you got a bass.
But you hear bass players going through I really, anything over 10 pounds. You know what I mean? You hear them having the same, talks, just scaled up, which I think is funny.
It is funny because basses all sound the same. There's no difference.
Oh, yeah.
It's don't.
I mean, obviously, they're not working as hard. They're just going boom.
Yeah, just playing one note ball.
I'm only kidding, please.
Wait, you were? Yes. I do I always watch the Muse videos of when their bass player just like, he breaks in that opening riff.
I mean, because we saw the Winery Dogs, and oh my God. I mean, what the bass player may have been
the best part.
Maybe so.
That's cool when the bass player just sort of rocks it out. You're like, yeah, that's a moment.
No, Ray Clark will appreciate that from Brown Box. Yeah.
So Derek was asked to leave the room for a bit while we talked about this video because he was going on a rant about, Har's like, man, if you can't out of Japan, just do some CrossFit. And he's like, wait a minute, all these CrossFit guys are doing this stuff and they can't even, they're complaining about it too. It's just an extra pound.
It is, right.
It's been done.
Not even sometimes.
It might be happening. So
ounces.
So when did we become so focused on weights of guitars? I think I have an answer.
I mean, I'm going to blame the internet again.
Well, yeah, but I think it was really like right around 2008. Honestly, okay. I think there's this weird time when the companies are just sort of figuring this out. They start inundating us with like specs,
propaganda,
things that we think. And don't get me wrong, it's going to throw off. I do like a light guitar.
Yeah,
but it's just because I'm a girly man.
I mean, I do. I feel like personally, honestly, when I play a lighter guitar, there's like this, like acoustically, not plugged in. There's this ring and openness to it, and I feel like if you got a Les Paul, you've got plenty of sustain. So maybe there's more.
This is the Fender style guitar that we want that resonance
right.
And strum a lot. It's a different.
Do you think that's different with the Gibson style guitar?
I think it is different a little bit. It's you don't know. It's mainly because the guys I see playing Les Pauls primarily you don't see them strumming it out. It's not a strumming guitar.
That's true.
It's more of it's a lead solo or a chugger. It's just different desires and wants there.
Yeah, that's true.
No, it's it's an odd conundrum. I think 2008. I think of that because this is sort of the beginning of the demise of Guitar Center's pinnacle too.
Okay.
Yes, they were sort of there. So the internet is sort of taking over the dissemination of information out to the public. And this becomes one of those things we all hearken to, and you can be like, oh, I want a light guitar now too, because this guy on the internet said lighter is more resonant.
So do you think there was a point there around that time frame where people were going to Guitar Center and saying, oh yeah, no, this is not the one, and then going on the hunt? Where before maybe you just walk into the Guitar Center, you want a Les Paul, here's the Les Paul they have, take it home.
I think we've talked about it before, I've never weighed one of my own guitars.
Me neither.
And I should. I'm just lazy. But I just like them, so I play them.
I don't know if that's ever been a consideration for me buying one, right? Like I've never called a shop or gone to a place to say, I think I want this guitar, but can we weigh it and make sure it's under 7 pounds or 7.25 or whatever. But we get that all the time now.
That's one of the most asked questions.
How much does it weigh? And we have the little thing that you hang it on and tells you like exactly what it weighs.
And I get this is a very small percentage, but some people do have some issues where they need to have a light guitar.
That's probably different,
But as Derek profoundly said earlier, most people are just crybabies.
Well, how many people are really playing like 3-4 hours? If you're going to stand up and play for 30 minutes, I don't know.
Well, no, because I sit down most of the time when I'm playing. Like, that was something else where you're like, maybe we just need to stand up again when we're playing. Because when you're practicing.
I play different when I stand up for sure.
I do too. Yeah. I haven't done it in so long because I'm so often sitting.
Yeah.
It's just a different play style for me. I need to get back into the standing up thing.
Standing up's fun.
I start doing that.
It's true.
It's weird. Now, jumping back, let's go back into all these great albums we're talking about. Let's talk about this little band called the Allman Brothers.
Who?
this little brand called Leonard Skinner.
Oh yeah.
Let's go. Let's jump up to the 90s. Let's talk about the Black Crowes.
Ooh.
Let's talk about Guns N' Roses. Let's talk about anybody you've heard pre 2008.
Okay.
In a weird way. Most likely those Les Pauls are pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Every once in a while you get a light one. But it's we're not talking about the mythical bursts necessarily.
They were 5.9 pounds. That would be crazy. I'm surely out there's a database of like the bursts that we know and how much they all weigh. I bet there's some guitar nerd somewhere who's tracked that info. But I bet they're not as light as you think.
No, well that's the thing is like when I started like actually analyzing it a little bit, I was like, well, these guitars are not light, they're heavy.
Nah.
And it's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
It's like it's okay. Now, if you prefer a light guitar, you just prefer a light guitar.
That's okay.
Cool. If you prefer a heavy guitar, you prefer a heavy guitar. There might be sonic reasons that we can all tell ourselves.
Maybe subconscious.
I have a lot of those. I do. I'm psychosomatic with certain things with the guitar.
Right. Yeah, I know there's some funny things about me in that respect.
Like I don't like to use a capo because I can think I can tell a difference in the tone once I've cut off that bone nut. I don't like to use effects pedals because I can sort of feel a difference when I plug in the things even when they're turned off.
Obviously, I don't have that problem, but I had the capo thing. I kind of get, and I don't know. I hardly ever use a capo, just because I don't know. I just don't.
Except when you're doing like a 4-hour rendition of Take a Little Piece of My Heart.
Well, that's different.
Like that's like the shows you do where you just play.
That is different. Where I just do one song for 4 hours.
Take it. Take another.
One more time. Tag it. Tag it. And then there's a 3-second pause where we slide the capo. We go up every 15 minutes. We modulate half a step.
I think that's important too. God bless. No, so it's just don't let that be the only guiding voice in your head when you're looking at a guitar.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless it is true, like you're staying up and you can't handle carrying the extra panel. But as the great wise Derek said, tough up, man up. Maybe you can handle it.
There's all sorts of weird. If that's really the issue, if you really have a physical issue, there's all sorts of like
that's different.
Like one of our friends bought that Parker guitar to the blues jam.
Oh yeah,
it was like weighs nothing.
that's air, isn't it?
Yeah, and Sean loved it. Like Derek and I were both saying, like Sean played great on it. Like it was so much so that we were like, wow, Sean needs a Parker.
How cool would that be? Sean playing a Parker too.
But there's stuff like that if you really maybe don't split hairs with half a pound over a Les Paul or Tele Strat.
Gotta have a guitar 7.6 pounds or
yeah.
Maybe you don't because you might miss out on some gems that there are because every guitar is a one of a kind out there. Like even the mass production models, there's some that just sing better.
Well, it's funny because I know like I talk to people all the time and they think, oh, the magic number for a Strat or for a Les Paul is whatever they have read on the internet that it is. You might miss out on some killer guitars if you have a hard cutoff there. Worth playing. Obviously if you're speccing it, you're ordering it and you have a choice. Okay, cool. Order it lighter, but yeah, don't ride out all those heavy guitars, baby.
I think that's that wraps us up pretty well.
Yeah,
thanks. That was a nice tie-in. Thanks, Johnny. Good job. You've done this before.
Well, only a few times.
Thanks again for joining us.
Yes,
we're happy to share our lack of knowledge with you at any time. Got any questions? Feel free to shout out to us. We love talking, and just have a beautiful day. Yeah. And as always, peace be with you.